Welcome to Zacama Primal Calamity. As far as our opening hand goes, we've got no Enchantress card draw. Not super wild about this one, so let's go Mulligan on this. And yeah, we can make this work. I like that. We got Firelit Thicket. We still have Expedition Map. Worst case scenario, we'll just put Fires of Yavimaya on the bottom. But yeah, we... Oh, but here's the downside. We don't have green for Firelit Thicket. We can still... Worst case scenario. Yeah, let's keep on this one. Let's see if we can't get lucky. So let's put... Fires is nice in this particular matchup. Ancestral Mask is nice. I think at this point, we have some other haste options in here. So let's go put Fires on the bottom. Click OK, and we're going to keep our fingers crossed that we run into a green source for that Firelit Thicket. But yes, welcome to Zacama. Hope you're excited for some Nigh Enchantress, and hope you're excited for a ton of mana, and hopefully, if everything goes well, a ton of card draw. So let's go. Got a victory. That's not too bad. Let's go and lead off with Plains. We'll go for Expedition Map. There we go. Have that come into play, and then worst case scenario, next turn we can just crack it for a green source and be good to go. So anything else, we're going to pass the turn over to our opponent. We're playing Zacama, Primal Calamity. Vigilance, Reach, and Trample. Then whenever Zacama enters the battlefield, if you cast it, untap all lands that you control. Then for 3 mana activations between red, green, and white, 3 damage to target creature, destroy target artifact or enchantment, or you gain 3 life. Playing against Jhoira. Jhoira, 2 mana activation, exile non-land card from your hand, put 4 time counters on it. If it doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend. So we want to make the land drop this turn, so we're going to go for Firelit Thicket. Typically with Expedition Map, we're saving this to grab Sarah's Sanctum, but we need to grab ourselves a green source. So desperate times call for desperate measures. So we're going to grab ourselves a green source. I think at this point, yeah, another red-green. Well, we do need to at least get double white for Mesa Enchantress, and so that'll put us at probably a red-white source. I think that'll be good. Yeah, let's go and grab Plateau. And then we did make the land drop for the turn. Anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn. So we can get down Plateau. That still allows us to go for Mesa Enchantress. More than likely, we'll probably end up going for Mesa Enchantress next turn, because that's going to allow us to start to go for Wild Growth. We can go for Oblivion Ring to kind of stop any sort of fast mana from our opponent. Hopefully we can deal with whatever sort of big suspended creature comes down, because that's not going to be a lot of fun. And our opponent did. They already do have something suspended, and that's going to be Ancestral Vision. So we'll get that popped up. But yeah, 2 mana, exile it 4 times. Yeah, I think I already did cover that. Let's give a quick shout out to our sponsors, MTGOTraders. If you want to get eaten by Zacama, head over to MTGOTraders. They've got a lot of dinosaurs for you to get eaten by, or if you want to build your own Zacama deck, they've also got some cards for that too. Also, if you want to check out my merch booth, I do have a merch booth set up over at inkgaming.com. You can type in Jolt539 in the search bar to check out my booth, or if you want to type in Jolt as a coupon code, you can get 10% off anything on the website, whatever your heart desires. And last but not least, I started a Patreon. So if you'd like to contribute to the Patreon, there's a link down in the description below. Get your name at the beginning or the ending of the credits. So whatever kind of floats your boat. And if you can't do that, hey, no problem. Just tell somebody about the channel. I would greatly appreciate that. So run into Sylvan Tutor, just so we're not fighting some sort of suspend option. And let's say our opponent's just not that good of a draw. We could go for Mesa Enchantress, but I really like going for this Oblivion Ring right now. Hopefully that's going to set them back just a couple turns, because that way they don't have to go for that 2 mana activation. So we're going to go for Oblivion Ring. We're going to get rid of Jhoira, send her back to the command zone, then we'll go and pass the turn. So with Jhoira, whenever I first recorded Jhoira, I didn't look her up on YouTube how to pronounce her name. And I was like, Jhoira, that's how you say it. That makes sense. And I got like 400 comments that were like, nah, dude, that's not how you say it. And then whenever I first recorded Zacama, I called it Zacama. And same thing with that. I got a lot of comments saying that's not what that's not how you pronounce it. So anyway, it always makes me laugh that we got Jhoira and Zacama. Or if you live in Bizarro Magic World, it's Jhoira versus Zacama. So whatever floats your boat on that one. Let's go Mesa Enchantress. Yeah, we're gonna have to go Mesa Enchantress. We could go for Wild Growth if we wanted to, but we need to cash in card draw as quickly as possible. We're gonna keep our fingers crossed that this Mesa Enchantress does stick around. That way we can go for Wild Growth. If things go good, we can actually Sylvan Tutor for another something like a Growthian Enchantress. That's going to allow us to get a Growthian Enchantress down and to start to cash in some card draw with some of these auras. And I've never been diagnosed with it, but I think I have dyslexia because like as time's gone on, like it's just like my brain doesn't like it just jumbles up vowels a lot sometimes, and the more that I looked into it, I looked at the symptoms of dyslexia, and I don't say that in like a haha gotcha shouldn't have made fun of Joel, but like I get a lot of comments where it's just kind of like people are angry that I mispronounce words, and so it's just kind of like well. And then I'm looking into it, I was like, well, it's just kind of like truly, whenever there's some words that like with Jhoira, like it's just my brain just doesn't process it. It just doesn't give me the option to like properly process a word sometimes. So, anyways, I'm not doing that to, hey, I told you so. I'm just kind of giving a little bit more of an explanation. So, we're going to go for red mana. We're going to go double green. I've never been diagnosed with it though, but I think I've got some form of it in some form or fashion. So, let's go wild growth onto plains. Actually, let's do this. So, we go Sylvan Tutor first. We can put that on top of our library. We're going to grab a Growthian Enchantress. Yeah, I like that. So we can put a Growthian Enchantress on top of our library. And I think we can sequence this really well. So we're going to go for Wild Growth onto Plains. We're going to draw to a Growthian Enchantress. Yes, definitely want to use that ability. And then we're going to tap for, oh, look at that sequencing. I love it. All right, so we're going to get a Enchantress down, and then we'll go ahead and swing in for 2, for 0, because Mason Enchantress typically never gets the option to attack, and she's a 0-2, so you got to let them have some fun every once in a while. Swing it for 0, knock them down to 30, and then we'll go and pass the turn over to our opponent. But yeah, it's kind of like, and I think that's why I enjoy Magic so much, is like word games like crosswords and oh, that like Boggle or something like that. What's that game? I'm looking it up. And I think, yeah, their Ancestral Vision's coming off suspend, so they're gonna be able to get in some pretty good card drawing. It's gonna be pretty nice. Yeah, Boggle. It's the game where you shake up all the words. Like, dude, I'm horrible at Boggle. And then when Words with Friends was really popular on phones and stuff like that, it would just get taken out behind the woodshed. My brain just doesn't really click in language. But as far as math goes, yeah, I love math. I do accounting, and so that really clicks with me. And as far as kind of working through board states, complicated board states with Magic, that is right where my head wants to be. But yeah, it's just that's it. But anyway, we'll stop talking about that. Let's talk about Zacama. Now, it's been a minute since we've done Zacama. The core concept of this deck is that this is going to be Naya Enchantress, because now that we have Mesa Enchantress, hopefully we don't get hit with like a sweeper. Okay. Oh, no. All right, that's not going to be good. Let's see how our opponent wants to go for this. If they go for a sweeper with that -X ability, oh, that's not going to be good. Let's see what they decide to go for. But that would... Oh, yeah, that's... I don't blame them. That's... Oh, that's a bummer. Man, I've been getting taken out behind the woodshed with Zacama today. Between not hitting lands and just not being able to get the Enchantress card draw. Oh, well, there we go. We could bounce back from that. So we end up going for Satyr Enchanter. I think that'd be pretty good. Let's go for I just sneezed and my cat was laying on the ground, and she just looked at me like, "Why would you do that? You just interrupted my nap." So I'm sorry, Dorothy. We're gonna go for Satyr Enchantress. Enchanter, have that enter the battlefield, and I think we'll pass the turn. Okay, then anything else, we're gonna go and pass the turn over to our opponent. Yeah, I'm trying to get a good Zacama video. This deck normally performs pretty well, but unfortunately, I'm just running into the meat grinder with Zacama. Okay, now if our opponent, yeah, I did sneeze again one more time. Sorry about that. If our opponent ends up going for the -X with Chandra to deal with Satyr Enchanter, that does really hurt us. We can still go for next turn for Ancestral Mask and Canopy Cover to get some good value. That basically kind of leaves us on the Island of Blossoms as our last Enchantress card draw piece. So we'll see what our opponent decides to go for. But typically with this deck, if we can get the Enchantress pieces down and we can get them protected, we end up getting some really nice value between the card draw, and it's turn 7, we have 3 lands on the battlefield. I'm running a lot of lands in here too, so that's just well, yeah, Wheel of Fortune, yeah, we'll take that. 'Cause, I mean, what we got in our hand is not exactly what we want to see. And 2 lands, okay, 2 lands is better than 0 lands. So if we end up keeping Mason, oh, and then we run into Eidolon of Blossoms, okay, so that'll, if they end up going for the -2 off of Chandra, which it looks like that's what they're thinking about. And if it's me, I would probably go for that, because that's going to get rid of their... No, they're going to go for the Elementals. Okay, so we can at least kind of go for a pretty good bounce back next turn. You know, we can definitely survive a hit of 3-1. It is 6. It is a pretty good chunk of damage, but we can make that work. We do have, we actually have just instant protection from once we get down to asceticism. So I think that'll be pretty good. So let's see what we draw into. Draw into Austere Command, which could go for artifacts. We don't need to go for that just yet. So we definitely want to make the land drop for the turn. So let's go Misty. We want to grab ourselves a red-green source. We're probably going to grab a Taiga. Let's see if we can get Taiga popped up. There we go. There's Taiga. Taiga uppercut. And then we're going to go for Abundant Growth. That's just simply just going to be a card draw at this point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if we end up going for Asceticism, that would be maybe something that we want to do. I'm just trying to figure out how we can protect Satyr Enchanter. So I think at this point, we just want to slow roll some value and hold on to Idle and a Blossom. So I kind of like that. So let's go Abundant Growth. We'll tap that down onto Firelit Thicket. That's going to allow us to draw in a card draw. Draw in, Teferi's Protection. Okay, I like that. This is going to be a really good option for us. So that's going to allow us to go for an extra card draw. Crop Rotation. That's going to allow us to go for Serra's Sanctum. Okay, that's pretty good. Now, at this point, I kind of want to hold on to Teferi's Protection, I think. Because we could end up going for Sterling Grove. That'll be an extra card draw. Yeah, let's do that. So we go for Sterling Grove. And that gives us the option to go for the Crop Rotation. Okay, so we're going to pay 1 green mana. Well, if Sterling enter the battlefield, that'll be 1 more card draw. Windswept Heath, okay. And you can see this is what I'm talking about with the deck, and that we need to get some sort of card action on our side. So that's kind of what we want to see. So we'll swing it. Yeah, we're going to swing it for 2 against Chandra. That way we can at least kind of force the... they don't have the option of sweeping Satyr Enchanter. And the next turn, we can actually end up going for Eidolon of Blossoms to start to cash in some card draw. But yeah, it's starting to pick up finally. And with us getting the lands, a little tight on lands, I think. So we've got enchantment, Teferi's Protection, Crop Rotation, which you definitely want to hold on to. So I think at this point, we're just going to get rid of Temple of Plenty, because everything else in our hand is going to be really good. And let's get that Suspend popped up. That way, Greater, what's his name over there? Keep track of him or her, because they can start to sack some stuff out, and that'll be pretty brutal. So at this point, what we're going to try to do is set it up to where we have Teferi's Protection down. Once we end up going Crop Rotation, we can actually crop rotate on something like Plateau or even Taiga. And once we grab Serra's Sanctum, that's going to be 1, 2, 3. That's going to be 4 mana that we're already going to have on the battlefield. That's going to allow us to generate a ton of mana. And actually, my production assistant Dorothy, she wants out of the room real quick, so I'm going to go let her out. Okay, an opponent's going to go for Jhoira. Sorry about that. So the room I record in, Dorothy was in here. Dorothy's my cat, if you don't know. She's my production assistant. And I also have Sturgill, which is my dog. So Sturgill's in the kitchen, and he's like 5 months old. And he's very much into wanting to play with Dorothy, but Dorothy doesn't like playing with the dog. And so when I opened the door, they were both right there. Or Sturgill was right there, and then Dorothy was like, it's game time, let's go. So that was the little interaction that we went. So kind of a little bit of a hectic thing for a second, but Dorothy is safely where she needs to be. So, and our opponent did suspend Inkwell Leviathan. So that is coming down in 4 turns. It's not the end of the world. And even if they end up going for a Trample Island Walk, that's worse things can happen to us. So we've got a good thing going right now. We've got Sterling Grove on the battlefield that's going to have a lot of our enchantments protected. And with us going for Crop Rotation, that's really going to allow us to get ahead on mana. So opponent's going to go for Mana Vault. And what we're probably going to do is they've got 6 cards in the hand. If they end up tapping down some of that blue mana, we'll definitely go for Crop Rotation. Fire Diamond. It's going to enter the battlefield tapped. Because if we run into a counterspell, that stinks. But that happens sometimes, so we'll go and let that happen. We'll at least kind of force the issue. We'll see if they have anything on the second main phase. We'll take 1 more hit with these elementals, and then we'll start kind of getting into that Teferi's Protection range. So they're going to be swinging in for 6. That's going to put us down to 17. And that is exactly Counterspell Magic if they end up going for... Yeah, I still think we end up going Crop Rotation. Exile, yeah, let's go for it, because even if we try to sequence it next turn, let's say we try to lead out with Asceticism, Yeah, I still like forcing the issue. So let's go and add green to our mana pool. And let's tap down Plateau first. Okay, we're gonna go for crop rotation. If they've got a counterspell, they've got it. Either if we can get this to stick. All right, there we go. That is a beautiful sight to see. Let's grab Sarah's Sanctum. We're gonna have that enter the battlefield. Now we're really getting somewhere with some mana. We can actually blast some of these artifacts. We don't have any artifacts on our side of the battlefield, so that austere command is gonna be a really good thing for us, and that'll be very cheaply for us to get down. So let's see how we want to sequence this. And we've got a pretty explosive turn. So let's go for Windswept Heath. We're going to crack Windswept Heath because I think we've got just enough mana to go for us untapping all of our lands, which can be really good. So we're going to grab Savannah. That way we're not taking any damage. And let's double check really quick. Okay, so we're going to be able to tap out for Zacama. We're going to have Zacama enter the battlefield. That's going to be an untap. Let's see if they... Oh, maybe they've got counter magic. Okay, so they actually go for counterspell, so that's going to buy us some time. That's fine. All right, it's going to send Kama back. We can still end up going for austere command to kind of stop what they've got going on. Hopefully that's their last counter magic option. And then next turn, if we want to rebuild, we can go for Eidolon of Blossoms and kind of start to roll some of these creatures out. Because once we get down to asceticism, we can kind of start to jump block on some of these creatures. But you can see with Zacama how potent that can be. Simply being able to untap with Zacama. That's one of those things where it's kind of like, yeah, we're going to go for it. If you've got an answer, we're going to force them to go for it. If not, we're going to have access to 18 mana in one turn, which is one of the best feelings. Now, this is why I built 9 enchanters with Zacama, is because you have these options of enchanting lands. You've got Wild Growth, you've got Abundant Growth. This doesn't get us ahead on mana with Abundant Growth, but with Wild Growth it does. So you can cast Zacama, untap your lands, and just have a ton of mana to do a lot of stuff with. So that's one of the fun things with this deck, is that you just get into these turns to where you get down to Zacama and it's, whoa, that's pretty good. So let's see what our opponent's tapping out for, but that was definitely a good play by our opponent, leaving up Counterspell. They're going to suspend Kaiga. Whenever it dies, gain control of target creature. We still got Inkwell sitting at a 3, and then Time Twister, which, yeah, we're okay with the Time Twister. Once we get, and that's the other cool thing about this deck, is with having Sarah's Sanctum on the battlefield, we can still end up recasting Zacama, so every enchantment that we get down, it's really going to help us out. Now, with Finale of Devastation, let's see. So we actually end up grabbing Nyela's Colossus, and that's going to be +X/+X, where they gain haste. I don't know if we can one-shot our opponent. Oh, do they have Cyclonic Rift? Oh, no. If they've got Cyclonic Rift, this is not good. Let's see. They are tapping out for 7 mana. We can still rebuild from this, but Cyclonic Rift is not going to be good for us. Okay, so our opponent's going to go for Brainstorm first. So let's. I'm interested in see how this turn's going to play out. So let's see what they end up doing, and then I'll hop into commentary. Okay, so they're actually going to go for Part the Water Veil. Take an extra turn after this one. I think they only tapped out for 6 mana. I think, yeah, they didn't go for the Awaken part. So they're going to take an extra turn. So it's going to be Inkwell Leviathan. We can still block on some of these elemental tokens, but that's going to be pretty rough for us. So, we're at the point now to where we almost might want to trade. That's going to be, well, let's just wait. No, we'll see. So we'll let that 6 come in. We'll wait till that extra turn before we want to end up going for that. Now, if they have some more extra turns, it's pretty much going to be a good game. With us going for Zacama right then and there and them having Counterspell, I still go for that line of play, because if we untap with Zacama and start to deploy some of this stuff out, the game's almost over. And so even though our opponent was leaving up exactly enough Counterspell magic, it's kind of one of those, like, playing a deck like this, there's so much value that we can generate. There's so much mana that we can generate. It's kind of one of those, like, hey, if you have an answer, awesome. You need to stop me. If you don't have an answer, then we're going to try to win the game with as much value as possible. So that's kind of how we play this deck. And, being scared of 2 blue mana open for a counterspell, that just gets down to the poker side of Magic, to where, hey, if you've got it, you've got me. If not, then we're about to go to town. So opponent did have it. So if there's a different way I could have sequenced that turn, I still like going for Zacama, because that's basically just a free spell. Then we have a 9/9 on the battlefield. Then we start blasting all of our opponent's stuff on the battlefield. So that's going to be pretty good for us. So we're going to see Deceiver of Form enter the battlefield. That's going to be an 8/8. Inkwell is sitting at 2 suspend. We have Kaiga sitting at 3. And Shimmer, what is Shimmer? So enters the battlefield, choose a land type. Each land of the chosen type has phasing. And so they chose And I think here's the downside. They chose plains, so that's really going to hurt us. I don't know if we still get wild growth. I don't think we have wild growth anymore off of that. Either way, if we can somehow jam an austere command, actually, excuse me, I'm thinking we had austere command from like last turn when we had that that time twister that shuffled everything back. So we're not going to be able to stop that. So it's going to put us down to 4. Exile the tokens, and that's going to phase those lands out. So that's really going to hurt us. So we've got overgrowth, and we've still, let's see how much we're tapping for. We're going to be tapping for only 3 mana. That's going to be tokens next turn swinging in. That's going to be an 8/8. Finale of Devastation is not going to do much. We need to make the land drop for the turn, so we go Mountain. Alpha Authority can maybe do something, but I just don't think we can generate enough mana to stop this. That extra turn card was very, very brutal for us. And then with Shimmer, each land's going to have phasing, so we basically need to... yeah, I just don't, because we can Idolic Tutor for Oblivion Ring to deal with Shimmer, or we can even tutor for something else to deal with that, but I just don't think we can take care of it. So we go Sarah's Sanctum. We just don't have enough bodies on the battlefield, unfortunately. It's going to be 1, 2, 3. It's going to be 6 total mana. We can Finale of Devastation, but we still don't have enough creatures to really even do anything with that. I guess we still Idolic Tutor. And it's going to go into our hands. So let's see what we can find. Let's get this popped out. So really the only thing I'm seeing is we go for Seal of Primordium. Man, this is still really clunky. We go Seal of Primordium, but we simply just don't have enough creatures to deal with this. So we go Seal of Primordium. That's going to allow us to cash in a card draw from Satyr. Academy Rector. Okay, but we don't have enough mana to get that down. Yeah, unfortunately, I guess we pop Shimmer. I still think that leaves us on phased on that. Yeah, it's still going to leave us phased out. There's nothing else we can do instant speed. We've got 2 mana. 1 mana we can tap down with Abundant Growth. But yeah, unfortunately, we're going to lose it on this one. So we're simply just going to go and pass the turn to our opponent. That counterspell from our opponent, that was basically the game right there. So that was one of those things to where if they have an answer, they're going to win if they have an answer, they're more than likely going to win the game. If they don't have an answer, then we're more than likely going to win the game. So with what we've got set up, that's kind of what the way this deck operates is that we have to go for that. So good game to our opponent. They did have it. There's a lot of times where you can leave up double blue mana and represent counter magic and hope that your opponent plays around it, but I very much like the option of putting it on our opponent. If they've got an answer, they've got the answer for it. If they don't, then we can just go to town, generating a ton of mana. But as far as the new deck goes, we do have Finale of Devastation in here. That's a new addition to the deck. We also added a Nyela's Colossus to the deck, and what that does is that allows us to we can grab Colossus and just really just go to town. This is almost just like a second. Oh, look at that. They had Crater Hoof on top of they had Ulamog on top of their library. Oh, that's beautiful. Good game to our opponent. That is beautiful to see. So we're going to be able to swing in for 10/10. Oh, but the legendary rule applies, but that's going to be Annihilator 4, which is still going to get us on this one. So good game to our opponent. They're going to get it on this one. And we'll just go and sacrifice O-Ring. Well, we'll just sacrifice Satyr. Because either way, they're going to be able to swing in and block on both. So sacrifice Firelit Thicket. So there we go. They're going to get rid of that. And then also shout out to Shimmer for just really just blowing our turn out. I mean, that was some very good sequencing by our opponent. We do have a chance to bounce back from that, but the fact that they drew into Shimmer, they got down Shimmer, named Plains, that cut us off any sort of hope of generating some mana. So that bottlenecked us on mana. So very good game by our opponent. They played that game very tightly and really put a lot of pressure on us. Never allowed us to get too much value on the battlefield at once, and especially with that Chandra sweeping some of our Enchantress pieces early on, that just, that really set us back on the back burner. So, good game to our opponent, and if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks, bye.